there's no better time than right now. So as far as like the personalized sentences, that is like a pretty time consuming task, right? And this is the
Yeah.
first time where we as, athletes, we're used to just playing baseball and hitting a ball, throwing a ball, fielding the ball, right? And that's like
Mhm.
what we've always known. I think this is a good kind of almost in a sense wake up call because this is the
Mhm.
first time we kind of do something that's not throwing a ball, not lifting weights, not running, not sweating, right? And we're
Mhm.
doing something that's going to be for our future, right? Reaching out to
Yeah.
these college coaches is a really, really critical step in this, recruiting game, right? And if
Yeah.
we never take that initiative to reach out to these college coaches, who will, right? So as
Yeah.
far as getting that back on track, let's do that right now. So you did the email template, correct me if I'm wrong, and you
Mhm.
have
Yes, I
the
did. I have it.
and you have the list of schools, but not necessarily the personalized sentences. So
Yeah, I have a list of schools,
okay,
assistant coaches, email like the recruiting coordinators and all that. Some of them
cool,
I didn't find the email, so
okay.
some of them are blank. But yeah, it's just the sentences I gotta do.
Yeah, so the sentences, dude, this is the way that I would go about writing these emails and making sure that they're personalized to these coaches, right? They're not going to
Mhm.
be necessarily personalized to the university, right? And maybe
Yeah.
this is where there's a little bit of confusion, and making it as clear as possible is really important, right? So when reaching out to these coaches, let's say this specific coach, went to college in Alaska, right?
Mhm.
Or went to high school in Alaska and like got drafted by the Red Sox. Make it known that you did a little bit of research that this specific coach went to a high school in Alaska and got drafted. Like, what are the chances, right? So it's a pretty critical like step, right? It kind of feels like busy work. It kind of feels like schoolwork, right? But these are the things that not everyone does, right?
Mhm.
And when we think about the whole grand scheme of things, do we want to do what everyone else is doing?
No.
Because why? Like, not everyone gets to play college baseball, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So we want to separate ourselves in these tiny little areas that college coaches appreciate, right? And doing that little bit of research goes a long way.
Mhm.
Speaking from experience, I remember when I was with the St. Louis Cardinals. Do you know who Mike Schilt is?
I've heard of them.
So he's the manager right now for the San Diego Padres, and he was the bench coach with the Cardinals when I was with the Cardinals. And before I even knew who he was, he came up to me, introduced himself, and like referenced that he, coached some college ball in North Carolina. He was good friends with my the NC State manager Elliot Avent. He knew that I was a pitcher my freshman year at NC State, and it didn't go too well. And he knew I made
Mhm.
that transition to third base and then got drafted, right? And then of course have a pretty good glove. Like it seemed like he came into that conversation, introduced himself to me, and he knew my entire biography. And I thought that was pretty powerful, and it still lives with me today. And that's why I think it's really important for you guys to, when we're sending out these emails, to make a really strong positive impact, right? You did a little bit of
Mhm.
research, you know about them, because that goes a long way. These are
Yeah.
the little
Yeah.
tiny details, dude, that college coaches will be looking for to
Mhm.
separate you from the rest of the competition, right? So
Yep.
as far as getting that done, dude, grind it out. It might take an hour, it might take 2 hours, it might take, 2 days if you split it up an hour here and an hour there, right? But it will be worth your time. Because then once
Mhm.
you start seeing these emails getting opened with the outreach system that I'll teach you on our launch call, when you start seeing that these emails are getting clicked on as far as your highlight video,
Mhm.
that's going to give you some confidence to keep that whole process going on
Yeah.
repeat, right? It's not just we're going to do it one time and forget about it. We're going to do it on repeat throughout high school. So that way these college coaches are constantly going to be knowing who we are and what we're up to. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Because what these college coaches are going to be doing with a highlight video, they're not going to say like, "Hey, Andrew, here's a scholarship from a highlight video," just one
Yeah.
singular video. What they will do is, I want to see if this guy knows how to control a bat. If he looks like it's the first time he's ever held a bat, right? These are the things. Just be like, okay, it's an opportunity realistically for them to put a line through your name, right? A highlight video. Do we ever
Yeah.
want it to look that way? Well, if we're including like game changer film, super wide angle, the game changer film from
Yeah.
the cage, you can't really see anything. It's all pixelated. They're
Mhm.
not going to know who you are. They're not going to see the mechanics of your swing. They're not going to be able to know if you're athletic and you're explosive and you're powerful with that rotation or not. So that's why it's really, really important to include certain clips in,
Yeah.
cage work. If you have game film, even better, right? But a mix of both is probably the perfect medium. So that way these college coaches have a clue on who you are. So there is a training inside, I believe, step 3 of the 14-day challenge as far as how to edit the videos for the highlight reel for these college coaches. Ideally,
Yeah. I
edit
think I
that.
think I already I think I already did that. I know you have to like cut
Yeah,
it down and make it like
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Making sure that you basically are, putting your best foot forward when these
Yeah.
college coaches click on that email, because that's one thing that we're optimizing for, right? So to get everything up and running again, that's probably going to be the most important aspects. So that way, dude, I want you to see that these emails are being opened and clicked, because it's one of
Mhm.
my favorite parts about the entire program, and it's going to instill so much confidence in you that you're doing the right thing. You actually now have that recruiting strategy. You actually are reaching out to these college coaches, and then again, throughout your entire high school journey, you're just going to put that on repeat. You're going
Yeah.
to have so many conversations coming in and out, right? It's going to be a good feeling. Rather than sitting on your heels or sitting on the bench, not doing anything, not being productive, that's where I don't want you to be, dude. So that's
Yeah.
where right now it's the most important time is right now. Let's get some of this stuff done so you have that clarity on how to go about it. And I promise you, it's not that difficult. Once you have these
Yeah.
personalized sentences done, dude, the whole outreach system that I'm going to teach on that launch call, when you go ahead and schedule that out, it is literally like 3 clicks away, and you're going to send it out to all of those schools in like 20 seconds. It does it
Yeah.
all automatically. So that's something that I really want you to, go through the process alongside with me because there is a little bit of tech setup. So just take it step by step. Does that all make sense?
Yeah. Got it. Makes sense.
And dude, like I said, dude, there's no better time than right now. Let's get this process started because it's something that will hopefully ignite that fire into you.
Mhm.
Seeing these emails being clicked and opened, dude, it's an awesome feeling. If I was in high school, I would literally be doing the same exact thing week over week, sending out multiple batches of emails.
All
So
right.
that's where I want you to do the same. Does that sound cool?
Yeah. Sounds good.
As far as like the physical side, lifting, the workouts, sprinting program, is that something that you're able to stay on track with as well?
Yeah, I've definitely gotten lift-ins.
Okay.
I have I lift downstairs. I've
Okay.
definitely I'm throwing harder. I'm hitting harder. I'm definitely improving.
Okay.
Like I said, I got my lift in. I do batting. I have a cage like downstairs.
Okay.
That I bat a few times, like pitch. So my arm strength's getting better. I'm definitely improving. But
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
and that's where like I want you to be improving and taking care of the physical side as priority number one because that's
Mhm.
always going to be the most important thing for your game, right? Is making sure
Yeah.
that you're leveling up, you're taking care of what ultimately matters. But of course, making sure that coaches know who you are is
Mhm.
really, really important. Like, and I hate using like the brutal honest truth, but like if we don't send out emails, these college coaches have no clue who Andrew is. So
Yeah.
like it is our responsibility to make sure that they know who Andrew is from the get-go. And then after they know who your name is, it's our responsibility again to remind them who Andrew is, right?
Yeah.
And then throughout that time, we develop a relationship. We nurture that relationship with that college coach, and that's something that's going to be done throughout, depending on years or months. And of course, that back and forth is going to be something that's really important for you. I mean, is that something that you've liked the workout side of things, like the physical side, as far as
Yeah, I
keeping that
like the
going?
physical side. Like it's fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun to do because, like I said, it gets you better and
Yeah.
everything. There's nothing wrong with the program. I think the
Okay.
program's great. It's
As far as like the time aspect, right, dude? And it's not uncommon, especially when school starts to pick up, right? Everything will start to get like, oh snap, what's going on? We have homework, we have tests, we have quizzes. I have to balance baseball. This is where I'd much rather you deal with this shock of
Mhm.
like, holy cow, there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
rather than your first 2 weeks of college when you're on campus.
Yeah.
Because that's where like real time management skills are being practiced each and every day on your own, right? I don't
Mhm.
want you to be in camp on campus a few years down the road and you're like, holy cow, I don't know what I'm doing. Everything starts to turn into like a tornado, right? Like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting lost. I need someone to kind of like set me straight as far as what to focus on. So as far as like time, right? If you think about it, we all get the same 24 hours, right? It's
Yep.
probably one of the most important things on what we're doing with our time. So with a lot of my students, like as far as like the conversation of time management, try finding that extra 15 minutes, whether it's before or after lunch, right? To get a couple of, homework questions done. Let's say you have 10 questions of math, get 5 of them done if you can before or after lunch, or maybe during lunch. So that way that's something you don't even have to think about when you go back home, right? You
Yeah.
already did that homework for math. You don't have to do it. Maybe you have to study for an English test or whatever the case may be, right? But
Mhm.
that math homework, it's out of the way. So I urge you to try finding those 15 minutes maybe before or after class. Let's say you have a in-class assessment or a quiz or you have to turn in some type of paper to the teacher once you're completed with it, and it
Mhm.
only takes you 20 minutes out of the 45-minute class that you have. Well, let's use that 25 minutes to do something productive, right? Let's not just like talk with our friends and this and that. Like, and yes, there's a time for that, but of course, if you're feeling super overwhelmed right now, that's where I want you to be focusing on how we can be as productive as possible, so that way we
Yeah.
can do more work of what we really care about. Which, if baseball is really what we want to do in the future, like that's going to be something that we really take into account of what is my priority, right? And there's been something that I've been listening to, like one of those audiobooks. For some reason, a lot of people have gotten into this idea of priorities, right? Plural. There's no such thing, really. There's
Mhm.
a priority, a one singular priority. What is that priority, right? And everyone's
Mhm.
priority will be different. Of course, like the ones that I completely acknowledge is like your education. That is a priority. Your family. That is a priority. Um, Making sure that you're there to celebrate, birthdays and family and friends events. Like I think those are priorities, right? Um, but as far as if we're able to reflect and look at ourselves in the mirror, like what is our priority? What are we trying to do with like my future, right?
Mhm.
If that's baseball, we need to find it's not just like we're having a hard time to do stuff towards baseball. It's we need to find that we need to figure it out to find that time for baseball if it truly is a priority, Right.
Yeah.
And of course, like sending out these emails, dude, it doesn't require, sunlight. It doesn't
Mhm.
require cleats or a bat or anything like that. It requires
Yeah.
just like, sitting on the computer real quick, writing out some of these personalized sentences, kind of like homework. And then, of course, with technology, we'll send them out super, super quick. So I want you to be able to open your eyes on like that time management if that's
Mhm.
something that you're struggling with. But